If you're taking only opposition, man, I can go back down.
Yeah. I'm just taking opposition right now. It's all good, but I'll bring you up once everything is over with. All right, that's how I kind of run the lives. But I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
All right. Hamilton, I don't think I need Jesus because I don't think Jesus does anything. All right, who we have next, y'all? Go ahead and keep liking the live, keep sharing it. I do apologize that it kind of glitched out for a second. I have what's your name here?
Dunk. You can call me Dunk.
Don, how's it going?
Not bad. How about yourself?
I'm all right. Are you over 18 and do you disagree with something I have on the board?
I'm 40 and I have I don't disagree, but I don't agree either on what you have on the board. Uh, let's see where to start. So I'll just ask what the one that I had the question on the most was.
Sure,
In regarding to the Black Americans should receive reparations.
sure.
Um, who do you expect to pay those reparations?
It'll be a government action.
U.S. government.
Yes.
So my curious is how far back do we go for these reparations for those who originally brought you over here, which was Britain, the Dutch, and Africa themselves, who sold your ancestors.
It'll be for slavery, redlining, the war on drugs, and black codes. So essentially everything that economically and socially affected African Americans in the United States.
So yeah, I'm just kind of curious because yes, America had its slave trade, but it was originated by Britain, France, the Dutch, and even Africa because it was the tribal leaders. Not all of them, but a majority of them did sell some of their citizens to the Dutch for things like spices and gold and trade and whatever it was. So I'm just wondering,
Let me ask you a
like
question. Let me
you
ask you a
go after
question.
the U.S. government, and then the U.S. government has to
Hey,
go after these
hey,
countries. Like
hey,
I don't
slow
understand.
down, slow down. Let me ask you a question. Did the Dutch do Jim Crow?
No,
Did the Dutch do redlining?
no. It was the
Then they're
Democrats that
irrelevant.
pushed the Jim Crow laws, though.
Then they're irrelevant.
Yeah, but
Right.
I'm
So
just wondering
when I
just how
say
far back you plan on going. Are we only going back 60 years, 70 years?
no, it goes back to slavery and then all the subsequent effects of slavery.
Okay, well then that means we're gonna have to just start from the beginning and send an invoice to Great Britain.
No,
um,
not really, because the United States had its own slave trade, and then they protected slavery through the Three Fifths Laws. That's how we have the entire Electoral College in the first place.
yeah, but we were also one of the youngest nations to actually abolish it quicker than any other nation.
Who was first?
Oh, I'd have to look that up. I'm sure there's other histories of abolished
It
slavery
was Haiti.
elsewhere in the world.
It was Haiti. In the West, Haiti was the first.
Well, what in the hemisphere or in slave altogether? Because I mean, technically, the Irish were slaves to Europe for quite some time before, and even they were, somewhat enslaved in the Americas as well because they were brought over, but they relabeled them to soften it up as indentured servitude.
Yeah, indentured servitude was not slavery. It was even written in the colonial law that these are not the same thing.
Can I be introduced at some point to add something to this? I don't want to interrupt, but
Uh,
I
give
have a lot of information on this.
give me a second, Roy. So are you over 18 and do you disagree with something?
Yes, sir. I'm over 18. I'm in my 20s.
You disagree with something I have on the board?
I disagree with something you have on the board, but it was regarding the Irish.
All right. What about the Irish?
So it is mentioned in numerous, like slave and just colonial, I guess, inventory of Irish slaves as well as mulatto and African slaves. In
Okay, give me a
fact,
second. Give
they
me a second. Give me a second. All right. So yeah, Nick. When it comes to that, like when it comes to like the Irish and indentured servitude, not only were they able to get out of that in a certain amount of years, they were treated horribly. No one's gonna deny that. But they were able to get out of slavery, and not only that, they were invited into the white sphere. So they weren't redlined or treated like their economic status wasn't kept away from them, like, or they weren't kept from building wealth because of their status. They were allowed to build wealth. They were allowed to have their own neighborhoods and communities that weren't destroyed, and they were invited into the white supremacist sphere and were actually considered white. Have you ever read the comic The White Man's Government?
I've not. I've only read historical.
Yeah. The the
With
the white man's government is a comic that came out during like around the Civil War, where it was a stereotypical Irish person, a stereotypical German person, and a stereotypical like American white American person, and they were all had their hands together, stomping on the foot of a black man to show that this is a white man's government. So Irish people were not like basically they were not like oppressed the same way that black people were. As a
I
matter
would
of fact,
disagree.
they hold on, Royce. Matter like the like I said, Irish people were allowed to be part of white supremacy. Were not redlined or anything like that. So like that, the entire stereotype of the Irish cop came from back then.
Well, I mean, as far as like, I mean, we
Hold
can
on,
go
Royce. It's
back.
not your turn. It's Denk's
Sorry.
turn.
Oh,
Go
but I was gonna just I have to get going. I would like to debate more. I'll give you a follow as well. I got to get into the car and leave right now, but I'll listen to the live as long as I can. Thank you.
Not a problem. Yeah, Royce. So yeah, the Irish and indentured servitude and slavery were not considered the same thing. Indentured servitude had a time limit. Slavery didn't. Not only that, indentured service weren't considered property. Slaves were. Slaves weren't even considered human, and the Irish were.
Well, once again, they were barracked in the same, and they were even crossbred, which has led to modern day supremacy of athletes that are of African and Irish heritage. You realize that?
Yeah. There were plenty of like cross interaction between Irish and black people. No one denies that. There's a lot of black people who have the last name McDuffie today because of that. So it's that no one denies that they interacted back then, but they were not treated the same.
I would have to disagree. If you're in the same living conditions and you're being listed side by side as far as like on markets and auction blocks, and that's notarized within the 1600s, I would have to disagree.
Yeah, and that stopped because they recognized.
Oftentimes,
Hold
black
on, It's
slaves
not
were
your turn.
sold for
It's
more
not your
than
turn.
Irish.
It's not your turn. It's not your turn. All right. So when it comes to that, like around the 1600s, yeah, some of that was happening. That stopped because what you were saying was starting to happen. So they stopped that. They separated those two people, and the Irish didn't want to be around black people at all.
So my question is, and I just want to kind of pivot. I don't want to get our tire stuck in the mud here. Are you saying that like because of chattel slavery that reparations should be paid? Like that's why?
I already I don't know if you heard it, but I didn't say
I
just
wasn't. I'm
slavery.
sorry.
I said the effects of I said not just slavery, but the consequent effects of slavery afterwards.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Civil Rights Act and I think a lot of things that led up to it actually put you on a worse position.
Right. Exactly.
But as far as slavery goes, I mean, black people, they weren't castrated. There's been slavery in the Middle East of that. That's, them doing that to their eunuchs. And it is a bad type of slavery, but chattel slavery was not the worst.
Yeah, what's
Slavery. So it definitely wasn't. And once again, I'm paying tribute to, that was a terrible thing. But the Middle Eastern slave trade was by far the worst. The Khazarian Empire.
Still exists today.
That was also chattel.
No, it wasn't. Chattel's completely different, my friend. This has nothing to do with the Atlantic trade slave.
No, the Atlantic slave trade was chattel slavery.
Sir, do you realize with the West India, and it was still colonization, but the West, when the Eastern India Company, right, when they came to India, they literally genocided. Sorry, I shouldn't say that word. They literally did like atrocities in that region, in the Indian region. Like Europe did that.
I get that. I understand that, but we're talking about the Atlantic slave trade, and it was chattel. Chattel slavery is being owned by someone else as property, and that's what the Atlantic slave trade was. I'm not.
Well, so my question would be,
absolutely right.
where does this stop? You're saying reparations for black people.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't Christians get reparations
For what?
for the
To what
Holocaust?
end is the question? To what
bro,
end?
It's not
for
your
reparations?
turn. Be quiet for a second, please. All right, Royce. What would Christians need to get reparations for?
Holodomor, 60 million of them were starved by famine because the communism was feeding the rich people, the oligarchs, not the people that were peasants.
All right. So like you're talking about like over in Russia.
Exactly. Yep. The Holodomor.
All right.
Exactly. The
So it
Bolshevik
was
Revolution.
that like a certain ethnic group that the Russian Empire oppressed
Yeah,
for
white
years?
Christians.
Okay,
White Christians.
I'm gonna go ahead and drop you since you don't know how to control yourself. So was that like an ethnic group that the an ethnic group or some sort of group that the Russian czars like they oppressed for years or something?
No. Nope.
All right. So what would the reparations be about then?
The reparations. I'm just going off of what principle. Seems like you're going off of is if there's a bad deed that there should be reparations paid due to the effect of it. And I would say that the same principle could be applied to the Holodomor, where 60 million Christians were starved from their own fields. So why can't Christians, if you categorize yourself as a Christian, why can't you get reparations under this logic?
I'm not a Christian, but the second thing I would say is that if those group of people over in Russia can prove that this happened in the Russian Empire and the government was involved in it and it affected their family members to this day, then yeah, go ahead and go get reparations. I'm not against that.
Yeah. So if it looks like you have a screen in front of you, I would really recommend you to Google the name or whatever search engine you use, if it's Yandex, whatever, would
I'm
be
not sure if you heard me.
Leon,
I already said
Leon Trotsky.
if these people can show that the Russian government was involved in this, and not only that, it affected their family until this day, in wealth, in health, in education, etc. Just like how African Americans can when it comes to their oppression, then those people should go get reparations from from their government.
Sir, where in the world, other than African countries, are black people just being sought out and killed for just being black? Because it's only happening in Africa. Where else is that happening?
What are you talking about? That's not happening in Africa either.
No, and it's not what I'm talking about, because you're talking about
No,
modern
I
day.
asked,
How does it
what are
affect
you
today?
talking about?
Christians are being killed every day still. They've been getting killed for thousands of years. So as far as you're talking about
Where?
modern day
Where at?
effects, like you're not
Where?
keeping that same energy.
Where are Christians being murdered for being Christian?
Syria,
Syria? It's not happening in Syria. Syria civil war is over.
sir.
In the Syrian
Sir.
civil war, they were going after anyone. You talking about ISIS? ISIS was going after anyone who was
No.
Muslim. What are you talking
Sir,
about?
it's Syria. They're going after the Muslims are going after the Christians.
No, they're not. That's not happening in Syria.
Sir. Once again, I'm not fact checking you at all, but you don't need to fact check me. But I can tell you a simple 5 minutes of research will tell you that Christians are still being persecuted.
Okay. Are Christians being persecuted in Syria? These findings may not reflect the reality of life in Syria after the fall of the Assad regime. Syria has a Christian historic community. All right, in a few weeks, the Assad regime in Syria has shifted. All right, where should I look? Do you have a certain thing I should look to?
No.
Yeah, because if I just Google it, it's not gonna come up. So where should I actually look?
Like I said, 5 minutes. If you need to take a few more minutes, but if we go back to the main
So
point, just because like that gets onto my topic, not yours.
No.
I want to talk about your
Wait.
topic.
No. Let's go back. Let's go back to what you were saying. You're saying that Christians are being persecuted in Syria. If I just Google it, it's not gonna bring up your sources. So if you're telling me the truth, go ahead and tell me where I should look, because if I just Google something, it's not gonna bring anything up.
Yeah.
Like actually.
Sure, give me
So
one
where should I
moment
actually look
for
at?
me to find the URL. I will be right back if you want to run your thing.
All right, sure. All right, so you wanted to come back to my topic. Which topic did you want to talk about now? Why shouldn't All right, James, you there?
Hello.
How's it going, James? This is the first time being here, I think. So you can finally come up, huh?
Yeah, bro. I finally found the request button. So
All right, great. Finally found the request button, James. All right, so James, this is your first time up, and you haven't you've been talking to my comments for a while, and this is your first time up, so great. All right, so what did you want to talk about? Did you disagree with something on the board?
no, I just wanted to get like a better understanding of what your beliefs were regarding reparations and Black Americans.
Yeah, sure. Can you give me a second? Hey, y'all, not guest, YouTube, let me know if you guys can hear me now. All right. I only put my mic down because I was getting an echo, but if you can hear me now, go ahead and drop a one on the chat. I would appreciate that if you guys could let me know if you can hear me. All right. So, James, you said my beliefs on reparations, correct?
Right. So, like, what constitutes a Black American in your mind?
A descendant of slavery in the United States.
Right. So that wouldn't include, Haitians, Africans, or anything like any Black person from like that type of background.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So we don't disagree.
All right, great. Did you disagree with anything else out on the board?
No, not really. I mean, I guess the woke thing, it depends on what you consider woke, right? Because like if that includes like I guess certain like LGBT rights or LGBT opinions, like I will probably disagree with like some of that.
Woke
Like
is
as
basically awareness of racial and social injustice. If LGBTQ people are being mistreated because they're LGBTQ, yeah, I guess you can say that's, if you're aware of that and you're against that and you think that people should be treated correctly or should be given like fair and equal rights. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you want to consider that woke, that's fine. These people behind me, that's what woke is.
right.
It's all about
Okay.
human rights.
Like yeah, I really don't disagree. I mean, I like say like if I was a pastor, right, and like somebody came in to me and asked me to like marry like two males, right, and I refused to like participate in that marriage, would you consider that like a violation of their human rights? No.
Not, I mean, it will be a no. Because it will be a violation of human rights if the government told them that they're not allowed to do it, but you not wanting to do it is just on you.
Okay. Yeah. So we don't disagree. At least not on that.
All right, cool. You got anything else for me, James?
Nope.
All right, man. Finally, good to talk to you. We when I do religion, go ahead and come on back because I know you disagree on those. So appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Royce is back. He said he was able to find the website that I can. Ooh, did I drop Royce by mistake?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you
Actually,
go.
I had a question. I have two sources. I have one that's from this February, so about a month and a half ago, and I have one from a year ago. Which would you like first?
What's the name of the organizations?
The first one is the Intel Drop.
Mhm.
That is a Icelandic journalist,
Mhm.
like journalist company, I guess you could call it. I don't know the terminology.
Mhm.
And then the other one.
You muted up for a while. I don't know what happened if you
Sorry,
got a call.
I was looking at opendoorsus.org.
Yeah, no, okay, cool. Yeah, if you
Those are
swipe,
the
yeah, if you
.org.
swipe out, I'm not gonna be able to hear you. All right, cool.
I'm
So they went ahead and like they lay out that Christians are currently being persecuted in Syria.
So one of them is for Syria, and the other one is it's not Syria, but it is the same region.
Okay, cool.
It's in
I'll
the
give you that.
Congo. It's in the Congo, so it's
In the
just down the
Congo.
way, Africa.
In the
Just take a
Congo.
left and go down.
Take a left and go down. What are you talking about? In the Congo?
On the map, take a left and go down from Syria.
Talking about Sudan?
No, I'm talking about the Congo. If you're from Syria, you go left and go down.
Congo is in Central Africa.
I know. That's why I say take a left and go down. That's in the center because you're starting at the top right. You go left and down.
That's not how directions work, my friend. But yeah,
Okay.
if we're talking about the Congo is a majority Christian country. It's like 90% Christian. So they're
Yeah,
not being persecuted
so-
for Christianity. They're being persecuted for their ethnic group.
I can give you the link, my friend, if you want to look.
Hold on,
at it.
wait. Listen to me. Congo is 90% Roman Catholic. So they're not being persecuted for Christianity. They're being persecuted for their ethnic group.
Sir, no.
Sir, yes.
Dude, first
What
of
is
all,
Africa?
you're telling me I didn't know
Is
directions. Now you're
Congo
telling
is
me,
Con
like,
is Congo
are you
is
trolling me?
Congo is Congo majority Christian or not? Yeah, he swiped out to find out.
No,
Congo is majority
no, I didn't
Christian.
look at. No, I was looking at the date. It says February 24th.
That's not what I asked you, bro. I asked you, is Congo
I know
majority
it's not.
Christian?
I know it's not the question.
Okay,
You went
so
on
is
after your
Congo
question, so
majority
you're
Christian or not?
I said I don't know. Like I'm
They
giving you
are.
that.
Congo is majority Christian. So what you
Okay.
found is not them being persecuted for being Christian, or that that group is actually wrong what they're saying. They're not being the ethnic group you're talking about is not being persecuted for being Christian. They're being persecuted for their ethnic group because
says
slavery,
mili-
enslavement is still happening in the Congo. That is still
Okay.
happening. I'll give you that.
So this is the first paragraph. It says, and I'm doing this from memory, so bear with me. It said militants have rounded up 70 Christians and killed them in a church. So how is that? The 70 Christians killed by militants. How is that
Right.
different?
Are those militants
How is that
Christian?
right? It doesn't matter. They're militants.
It does matter because you're saying that they're being persecuted for their Christianity and they're not. What's going on in the Congo is an ethnic conflict, not a religious one, because the majority of that country is Christian.
Why
So
were
it's
they
an
rounded
ethnic
up by? Why were they
because of
rounded
their
up by
ethnic
Christians?
group. Because of their ethnic group. You do understand that the Congo has over 40 ethnic groups, right? The
And
Congo is not. Hold on.
inform
Congo
me,
is.
man.
Hold on, listen. The Congo is not like the United States. In the United States, you have Hispanics, whites, blacks, and Asians. That's the four major ethnic groups in the United States. In the Congo is the Swahili people and the Bukongo people and
How does that have to do
hold
with
on.
how
Listen,
they're
listen,
rounded
listen,
up?
listen, bro.
Like,
Listen.
I'm
I'm
proud of
explaining
you
to
that-
you. I'm explaining to you. Listen. Slow down. I'm explaining to you. There are tons of different ethnic groups in the Congo. These ethnic groups tend to fight each other. But those ethnic groups are still Christian. The majority of them are Christian. Which means that the person that you're talking about, yeah, I understand that was an atrocity and that was a bad thing to do. But they didn't do that because they are Christian. They did that because they're a different ethnic group. That's what's
No,
going on.
sir.
Yes,
it literally
sir.
says right here in the article that the militants were from ADF, which is tied to Islamic terrorist groups, which ties back to what I said earlier that the Islamic people were killing them in the Middle East. Why are you making me repeat myself?
You talking about the ADF in the Congo?
Yes, that's what I've been saying. You're making me repeat myself. Looking down on me because you can't understand what I'm saying.
All
Come
right.
on, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
did-
coming sideways at you, but be respectful.
I'm not trying to come sideways at you, but you didn't even know that the Congo had ethnic groups or not. All right, so the so you're talking about the hold on, give me a second. All right, yeah, the ADF is an Islamic terrorist group.
Everything I've said is facts. I've got sources, my friend.
All right, yeah, the ADF is an Islamic terrorist group. I understand that. But what's going on in the Congo is way more complicated than this Christian persecution. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But when it ties back to what your whole
What is
thing
this? What are we talking about here? What was this all about? What was your point?
Exact. I'm telling you. So the whole thing, the reason I brought that up is because you said, well, it's about the modern day effects. Well, I said, what about the modern day effects for Christians?
That's
And
just a
they're still-
whataboutism, bro. You can't sue
It's
you can't hold on, wait, let me
parallelism.
finish. You can't sue Sudan for what they're doing in the Congo. You understand that, right?
I can't. be
All right.
mad
So
at
you bringing all this up? I understand that Christians are being attacked and there's an issue going on in Congo. I get that, right? I'm gonna give you that. But what I'm saying is that reparations is about what happened in the United States. What does the ADF attacking Christians in Congo have to do with that?
it correlates on the fact.
It
that
doesn't.
You're trying to give justification.
I'm
for
not giving justification for anything. It doesn't. Okay, you're a Christian?
That's by definition.
Are you a
what
Christian? Are you a Christian? Are you a
reparation
Christian? Are
is.
you a Christian?
I was raised a Christian.
Okay. In the United States, did the United States ever do something to Christians to affect them politically, socially, or economically? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. What do the United States do to Christians to affect them politically, socially, and economically?
They charge them usury rates and lend them high interest rates. But if you're of another religion or ethnic group, you don't have to pay that. percent.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie. Go to rocketmortgage.com and look in the terms and conditions.
Rocketmortgage.com. Rocket Mortgage gives you a higher interest rate if you're Christian.
Yes, compared to being a Jewish person where you get that written off.
You're lying, bro.
Torah. It's against the Torah. See, you're
lying, bro. You're
Just
lying,
because
bro.
you're ignorant.
Hold on.
to it doesn't mean
You're
I'm
lying,
lying.
bro. You're lying, bro. You're lying, bro. You do not get a higher mortgage
Go to
rate.
Rocket Mortgage.
You do not get a higher mortgage rate for being a Christian. You're lying, bro. I'm not even gonna look that up.
0%.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna look that up. You're lying, bro. That doesn't
You
happen.
mind if I say? You mind if I say one thing real quick?
Go
It
ahead.
gives you 0%.
Yeah. So
you don't get
Grace,
it.
just in regards to what you're talking about, I think a lot of these conflicts and debates come from the fact that we use a lot of words, and no offense, but we use a lot of words that we don't really know what they mean. The word reparations means to repair something. And the reason the black community talks about that so much is because there's so many issues, so much oppression, so like poverty level, a lot of things that need repairing in the black community. Christianity doesn't need anything repairing. Christianity is the richest, most powerful, most dominant religion in the world. So what would they need reparations? What would they need to be repaired? Nothing.
That's
So
a
your
great question.
whole argument is irrelevant because there's nothing that Christianity needs
Yeah.
reparations for.
Sure, Jay. I get what you're saying. And okay.
All right, how's it going, Jabba? How's it going? I know you're probably gonna be on my side here, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring someone up. I see,
For sure.
I see Warlock on in the request. Warlock, I'm gonna go ahead and bring you up next. Jabba, go ahead and stay with me. All right, give me a second.
For sure.
You can go ahead and stay with me. I know you wanted to. I didn't drop. Oh, who dropped? I don't know who dropped Royce, but I didn't drop him.
Oh no, I'm sure he dropped because he ain't had no response to that.
Yeah, probably. All right. Warlock, how's it going?
What's up? How y'all doing?
I'm all right, Warlock. Are you over 18 and do you disagree with something I have on the board? I'm pretty sure you do.
I'm 42, and I don't disagree. Just got some questions.
Sure.
But you want me to ask them now?
Go ahead.
Okay, so like the reparations part, like how far, like to what end do we go with that?
What do you mean by that?
Like how far back and to what end?
All right.
Did
You were
we
already
get the
in
reparations?
you were already in the comments when I explained this. I said reparations would be for slavery and its effects, meaning slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, the war on drugs, and redlining. Everything that economically and affected black people in the United States or African Americans in the United States. That's what reparations would be for.
Yeah, but how far back do we go?
I already
to
told
get
you,
them? Or-
slavery.
Slavery. So, are we talking about anybody that owns slaves? Are we talking about corporations? Are we talking about families?
We're talking about all of it because the United States not only allowed slavery, they protected it and participated in it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Do we go after the shipping companies
Yes.
that profited off of it?
Yes.
So, do we go back to Africa to the kings that rounded up their own people and had them waiting on the beaches when the ships came?
Those societies don't exist anymore.
What? Exactly. So the shipping companies don't exist anymore.
Yeah, they do.
The companies that sold the slaves don't exist anymore.
Does JP Morgan?
I mean,
hold on,
that's
hey,
what I'm
hold
saying.
on. Does JP Morgan exist?
Yep.
Does Wells Fargo exist?
Yep.
They were involved.
All right, and I agree with you 1,000%.
There you
Tax
go.
they ass.
There you go. The United
But-
States government also still exists.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
But to what point are you willing to go after reparations to the point of bankrupting our economy?
The economy won't be bankrupt. The
It
economy
won't.
will the economy would actually get better because if African Americans were repaired, especially monetarily and educationally, you'll have more people working and being productive. America spends a lot of
injecting more money back into the system.
America spends at least a quarter of its GDP servicing poverty. So if we uplift the group who's most in poverty, besides Native Americans, which is African Americans, into a better economic conditions, that will be better for the United States because we have less servicing poverty.
Also,
Yeah,
can I
I
just
agree
state
with you
that?
there.
Can I
I
just
mean,
state that also that that Black Americans spend the most of any culture in America. So if the case may arise that we get reparations, we're going to put it back into the economy to begin with. So, and in addition to that, this country has already paid reparations to various groups throughout the course of the
yep,
past few hundred years, several times.
yep,
And it didn't bankrupt
he's right.
the economy. So I don't know where that logic comes from that it would bankrupt the economy when we've already paid it to various native groups. Obama gave reparations to Holocaust victims.
Yep,
We've paid
The
reparations
Japanese
several
got
times.
reparations. Yep. But see, the reason why they say it's going to bankrupt the economy is because the black community is a lot larger than all the rest that's been given reparations. And it depends on like how far you go back, who you're taking the money from. You know what I mean? Like,
But if we
it's
put
so
it right
big.
back in, if we put it right back into the economy, how is it going to bankrupt the economy?
Well, okay, it might not. You're more than likely right.
Yeah, black
Yeah.
people spend a lot of money.
Yeah, because
Sometimes
Yeah.
that's to our detriment, but we spend.
yeah, because money
Yeah,
is
you're right.
cyclical. Money is cyclical. It doesn't just go to one area and then goes away. It goes into a cycle. You know what I mean? So it's going to go back into the economy anyway. Now, not only that, we saw during COVID that $4 trillion was injected into the economy out of nowhere. So reparations can happen.
That-
Even if you don't put a price tag on it.
Brother, that's why we're in a recession right now, is because of the COVID money that was given out. That's not a good, you know.
Gotcha. All right,
But
we got
I
anything
see
else
where
from you,
you're coming
Warlock?
from. I agree with what you're saying. I
Gotcha.
was just wondering how far back do we go?
Gotcha. You
And
got anything
who?
else for me?
Who? Okay. I believe America was great, is great. It's always been great. If it wasn't great, why does the whole world depend on America?
It doesn't anymore.
And
Now it depends more on
woke
China.
woke has never been good.
Okay.
I was raised up on Dr. King's, on a merit based system.
Do you understand that Dr. King always spoke on systemic problems, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's what woke is. Do you understand what these men were doing in this picture in the 1968 Olympics when they raised their hands up in solidarity?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what being woke is. How's that a bad thing?
It's not being woke.
Yeah, it is.
It's not woke.
Yeah, it is.
No, them men in that picture raising their hand up would never want anything handed to them just because they were black.
What does woke
They
mean?
would want to be given the opportunities
What does woke mean?
because they had the merit.
What does woke mean?
Woke is just checking boxes.
That's not what it means.
What does it mean then? What's your understanding of woke? Because that's
I
not my
told you.
understanding.
I told you awareness of racial and social injustice. Who told you that woke meant what you said? Who told you that?
I don't. TikTok did.
Yeah, exactly.
The
That's the
internet.
problem. Yeah, that's the problem. You didn't actually go to people who look like me or these men to ask them what it meant.
Okay. Tell me what I did do. Okay. From my understanding, woke is just checking boxes
It's not.
of lesser represented peoples
It's
and
not.
putting them into positions.
Okay, Warlock. Listen, it is not. That's not what woke means. It doesn't mean checking boxes and symbolic gestures of putting people into positions. That's not what it means. It means being
So what does
aware
it mean?
of. It means being aware of racial and social injustice, which is what MLK was about, which is what Malcolm X was about, which is what these men were about. Even Ronald Reagan mentioned social justice before. Even he did. So he
So how do we
tangentially knew
repair
what woke
them?
was.
So how do we repair them racial and social injustices? How do you repair that?
We repair it by looking at what those injustices actually were, and then coming up with ways to fix it and see how we can break down these systemic barriers and see how it was built. For example, when it comes to police, right? The police were built around slave catching in the United States, and not only that, every time we've actually researched police. We've seen that they've been involved in like horrendous things and hiding crimes themselves and committing crimes themselves, right? So we need to actually break down the system of police. That doesn't mean abolishing policing all of it on its own. That means in the United States there needs to be a complete abolishment of what the policing system is now, and then building it back up from the ground up.
Yeah,
That's how we
I
repair
agree with you 100%. I believe that's the first place we need to start is with these punk ass cops. I agree with you 1,000%. I think we should end qualified immunity. I believe that police need to be, instead of defunding them, they need to be funded more. They need to be trained more, and there needs to be federal oversight on them, just like an FBI agent. Like if they step out of line and do something, I think there needs to be extreme repercussions on it. Because you can't do that. You can't be an agent of the state trying to uphold laws and then letting your own ego, or you know what I mean? You can't have that. I
Yeah.
agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I probably wouldn't fund them more. I would say they need to get more education, because we give them billions
Well,
of dollars. Like a lot of the, like for example, the Chicago police, I think gets $4 billion a year. And research into Chicago police show that they're one of the most racist police precincts in America. So it's like giving them more money is not what's helping. What needs to help is will help them is reform certain like I would say certain criteria to be police. We need more de-escalation training, more social services going to calls instead of them. Like they don't need to be there when it's a call for like someone who has going through a mental problem. Like call their social service worker or something like that, because they'll be able to speak with them and calm them down. Stuff like that will help out more.
Yeah, what I meant about more money was just maybe not more money, but maybe more oversight on how that money is spent, because I definitely believe they need
agree with that.
better training.
Yeah, I
You know
agree
what I
with
mean?
that.
Like maybe that money should go to the right places and get them better trained. Exactly what you said, de-escalation techniques. You know, for one thing, they should be taught to not let their ego get in the way just because they have an interaction with a citizen and their ego gets harmed. They want to escalate it. That should not be there.
Yeah, that now that 100% we agree. I think there needs to be better allocation. I would say that
Yeah.
if we're not going, it doesn't necessarily need to, because a lot of people say defund police, right? And I get that sentiment. I even agree with it somewhat. But if that can't happen, then yeah, there needs to be better allocation of their funds. I completely agree with that. Definitely.
Yep. And qualified immunity.
Yeah, and qualified them.
Because I believe that, you know, since they're acting on the state, they need to have, what's it called? Like after the fact, they need to have, shit. I can't draw on a blank.
No,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
I know
if they
exactly
mess
what you
up, they need to have the repercussions behind them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I
Because
get
they
you.
putting their name on it. But thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for letting me up.
Not a problem, Warlock. I appreciate you. All right, Butcher, you've been in my comments before. I think you've disagreed with almost everything that I've ever said. I'm not sure, but I know you've been in my comments before. So this will be your first time up. I'm guessing you can finally come up. Appreciate you being up. Are you over 18, and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
45, and I think I disagree with the first two, and I would just have a question about the third.
Sure. Go ahead. What do you disagree with? America was never great.
America is great right now. We like, even though there's trying to, other countries are trying to like destabilize the dollar and stuff, and we're not. We kind of helping them with the inflation and all that stuff, but yet and still, this is like the type of freedoms that we have in America are really unfounded. Now we pay a hefty price for those freedoms for sure, but you don't really have that type of you don't have that type of maneuverability that you do anywhere else.
You sure?
I can't say with 100% certain, but only in the countries that I visited. Nah, you just can't. Like especially like with women, you like certain places in the East you just can't do or live the type of life that you can live here.
You can in the West.
you can't in the East. You can't say what you want to say to the government. You can't criticize certain elements of the government.
Like where?
I would say in China, for instance, or even in um, North Korea.
Yeah, China, North Korea. Where else?
In certain places in Africa, like you can't be
Yeah, you
you
can.
can't you can't be homosexual in some places. You
Okay,
can't
yeah,
be.
yeah, sure. Okay, got you. So,
I mean,
when it comes to things like that, certain freedoms, like America's not the only place where you can be as free as we are here. Like, there's plenty of places where you can do that at.
yeah, I mean, I'm not across the, not, of course, yeah. I'm not saying across the board we the only people who got those types of freedom, but it's just like where we at right now. We still number. I would say we up at the if we top five. We not the top one, but we top five. It's still pretty damn good in my opinion.
All right, what's great about America now?
Everything, man. You can be broke one day and rich the next.
So,
That's great. You don't have that. If you're born in a certain caste and certain or in certain other places, you stay that way until you die.
that happens in America.
It can happen in America. You have the opportunity to move up. We have upper mobility, and black people as a whole are an example of that.
Do you have upper mobility in Canada?
Yeah, that's a West. That's the West.
Right. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. How I judge greatness. I judge greatness by the character of the country, right? Because what you said is true. I can be broke today, tomorrow I win the lotto, or this goes viral and I blow up like Kevin Samuels, right? So that could happen to tomorrow. Here's the thing. My wife could also go into a hospital, and because the doctors don't care about her pain because she's black, she can unalive on the hospital table. You call that great?
No, there's always gonna be negative elements, now, especially with healthcare in America. It's horrible. Honestly, it really is.
Exactly. So that's why I say that it's not great, because stuff like that still happens. Until we get until we fix those type of issues, then it can't be great. It can't it won't it's not great until we fix those type of issues. Now it can be. It can be. America has showed its slices of greatness. It can be, but right now it's not.
You don't think it's great in America?
No, because I'm talking about the actual character. Now, like for example, I live in a first world. This is a first world country. If I go turn on my lights right now because I paid my light bill, the lights are gonna turn on. I don't live in a country where there's rolling blackouts, whether you pay your bill or not. I got you, right? That's great to live in. The tap water is relatively safe. I can drink out the tap water. That's all good and well. However, when I drive down the road and I see a cop behind me, I'm still deathly afraid, because if I move the wrong way, he could shoot me in the head. Something like that is not great. That's how I judge the greatness of the country, if it's great or not great. Until we can fix those type of social problems, it's not great. It can be, it's just not right now.
And see, that's what you said. Like, all right, and I get that from an internal standpoint. That would be a first world problem. You get what I'm saying? Like that's a first world problem. Yeah, we get to worry about shit like that. We don't got to worry about if we get to survive the next day or not.
Yeah, of course not.
But let me actually, I have to ask you, what do you mean by being woke? Because I don't think woke is good at all.
You're
And
black, right?
Yeah, I'm black.
So you know what woke means.
It started out as a good thing that we originated, yeah, but it got
That's
co-opted.
Yeah, it got co-opted. What they say woke is not what woke is. They're just making stuff up.
So
I
you
mean,
said,
like here's what I'll say. Right? I'll clarify this. I'm sorry. I'll clarify it like this. All words and all definitions are made up. We get that, right? But when definitions change, it because it has a utility. It's because it has a reason why it changed. When it comes to woke, they had no reason to change it. The only reason the only motivation they had to change it, from what I can see, was just racism. They had no reason to change it.
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. And I see why you would take that angle. But okay, so would you say that? Well, that's weird because the people who co-opted kind of covertly use it in a way to fight racism, I guess. Initially, you don't think so?
They didn't. They didn't, because I live in Florida, and when Ron DeSantis signed his whole anti-CRT or anti-woke bill, they immediately started restricting information on MLK, immediately started restricting information on Rudy Bridges. immediately started defunding like colleges that had black fraternities and sororities and stuff like that. That's what they immediately started doing. So it was always about race for them.
Well, that's what I mean. It got that negative connotation that it seems, even though we originated it, it seems like that now wokeism has been strictly associated with the negative aspects of it, even by us now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't understand why, because it's like, y'all, we know what this meant, and we know that they co-opted it in order to be racist, and we're just sitting here going along with it. Like,
Yeah, I
I
agree
don't
with
get
that.
it.
I absolutely okay. So now I understand what you mean by being woke. I would say it's good in its original format, not what it is now, not what they kind of co-opted it to be.
Yeah, and I would argue that that's really the only format. It just got, like you said, co-opted to, what they wanted it to be. Yeah, I mean, or like just honestly, it's just is they use it as a dog whistle. Yeah, I mean, I think the
Yeah.
original format is still what it is. What they're using is a dog whistle, just like how they're
Well,
using
no.
DEI as a dog whistle.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, now they'll say you woke, and that's just the way to kind of police people language and like be overly sensitive to stuff. And it's it's just like I don't even like using the term now because they co-opted it. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
now they conflated it so much with this shit that they create. The narrative they created around what being woke is that it kind of lost its original meaning to a lot of people.
yeah, and that's why I put that up there to fight back against it, because like whenever they someone comes up and say that woke is not good, I demand them to actually define it, and every time I ask them to do that, guess what? They can't. Yeah, which exposes that they're just using it as silent N word basically.
And then for the last one, the question I have for Black American shit. Like when you talk about Black Americans, are you including like people who are Black and American, or people just that have lineage in America that stems from slavery?
Yeah, the ones who stem from slavery, American descendants of American slavery.
Okay, so how do you think that? Do you think that that would have a impact on other people that like other cultures that are seeking like reparations? Like, do you think that would have like a domino effect of some sort?
Yeah, definitely. Because if America does reparations, then CARICOM, their case gets stronger against Europe.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what's going on in Africa if they're trying to seek reparations from Europeans either. But CARICOM is definitely seeking that. Jamaica, Haiti, Bahamas, I think Trinidad, they're kind of leading the way in doing that. Well, America right now, I mean, not I said America. I'm sorry, Haiti right now. My parents are from there. It's kind of it's kind of in a it's kind of bad right now. But when it does get back into when they do get things on track, which they will eventually, this always happens. They'll get things back on track eventually. Once it is back on track, then they'll be joined the fight again with CARICOM to seek reparations from Europe and the United States, because the United States was involved in destabilizing a lot of things in Caribbean.
Yeah, y'all should get a little cut. Yeah, I ain't gonna even trip on that. That should get a little cut for real. With that being said, we don't really disagree on too much. Just the nuance of it, maybe, was now that you clarified a lot of stuff. Like, I still kind of think America. Yeah, I'm biased a little bit because I feel like America has pushed Black people. Well, I think Black people like I don't know. Now you might be more traveled than I am for sure. But I haven't been to a place where Black people have these types of liberty. Now you may know somewhere in Africa. I only been to two countries in Africa, so I don't know for certain. There's 54 of them, I believe. So I don't know any other place where Black people can rise to the top from the bottom with this type
Uh,
of.
Probably Canada, UK, France, maybe Japan. Uh,
Man,
yeah, it's a little difficult in Japan because of it's such a homogenous culture. But mostly is in the West.
London.
Well, London is the UK, so it's mostly in
I'm
it's
looking at the. Yeah, somebody you said Canada. Like I don't see a lot of Black politicians or Black leaders from any of these Black countries that come there to live. They kind of keep a tight grip on who can rule and who can get to say so and who gets money.
Yeah, no, that is true. The West does have a grip on a lot of the resources that Africa has, so that's really affecting their upward mobility. And you see that Burkina Faso is trying to change that
Yeah,
because
that's my
France
boy
has a
right
lot of
there.
grip on their resources as well.
Yeah, I like what he's doing, man. I pray for his safety. I really do. But yeah, I
Yeah,
like what he.
yeah, me too. All right, Butcher. I don't think we disagree with much. Then I'm gonna go ahead and
The only thing we really disagree on is your atheist, but we could talk about that on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday show.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and do that
And a
next
week
week.
from that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, next week is gonna be my religion week, so we could definitely get into that.
All righty. All right, man. I appreciate you for letting me up.
Not a problem, Butcher. You have a good one.
You too.
All right, y'all. Quick commercial break. I do appreciate everybody being here. We're at 14K likes, 3,000 views, about 60 people in here. I appreciate you all. I appreciate everyone who's watching me over on the YouTube. Burns, I see you there. Decon, I see you there. Daino, I see you there as well. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and bring the next person up. I think his name is Jarvis. Jarvis, how's it going? All right, y'all. Just to let y'all know, I do have a subscription goal. If you would like to support me, join the cult. I do have 8 subscribers now. I'm reaching for 10. I'm going to bring up a live goal right now. If you'd like to support me then with that one as well. And I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk to the next person. Jarvis, how are you doing? Are you over 18? And do you disagree with something I have on the board?
Yeah, I'm 48. Yeah, I do kind of disagree with some things. Like, I don't see why people alive today should pay reparations for what happened in the past.
Do you think that if the government damaged something, they should fix it?
If it was recent, for sure. But what I'm saying is like, okay, say your great great grandpa killed my mom or something. Would you have to pay me for that?
If my great granddad unalive your grandma, would I have to pay for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the estate does pay for it.
Well, what I'm saying is, would you though?
If I'm the director of the estate, then yeah, I'll pay for it. That does happen.
Okay. So also like you can't blame people alive today for what the times were back then. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like people used to conquer and take land. So like Germany conquered, there was France that was conquering. Like they did all those things, but it has nothing to do with what's going on today.
Does it still have effects today?
I'm sorry, what?
Does it still have effects today?
I don't think so.
It does.
The world is totally different.
That doesn't mean that it doesn't have effects anymore. Like, for example, someone said in the comments, right? Recent is subjective. Do you know who Rudy Bridges is?
No.
Rudy Bridges is the first girl to desegregate a elementary school. Have you ever seen a picture of the little black girl with like FBI agents next to her, escorting her to school?
I have not, but like things
You
aren't
probably
segregated.
you probably have. That's one of the most famous pictures in American history. So you probably have seen it. My point is that Rudy Bridges, the first girl to desegregate an elementary school, who had to be escorted to school by army officials. How old do you think she is?
I have no clue, buddy.
She's 67. So when she has an Instagram, as a matter of fact. So when you talk about, recency, would you think that's recent?
Well, what I'm saying is like, is that going on today?
Segregation.
Are little black girls getting escorted to school with security guards?
No. What I'm saying is that these things still have effects because desegregation of schools, it only happened on paper. Schools are still largely segregated.
No, man.
Yes. They're not
No way.
they're not desegregated by law. They're desegregated de facto. Because
No.
yes, de facto. They're segregated de facto, and I can explain why. The reason, Kay, I can see your request. I'm just going one-on-one at the moment. They're de facto segregated, and you can see that through the zoning, and you can also see that through issues like busing was a really big thing in the 80s and the 90s. schools didn't want to like there was a whole busing issue, and a lot of parents were against school busing, right? That kept them segregated. But the other thing that I would say is that a lot of schools did not want to desegregate the schools, right? I don't know if you know about that history. Like there was a fight to not desegregate schools. A lot of these schools, instead of desegregating, they either shut down and became private schools. And around that time, the only ones who could be go to those private schools were, of course, white students because they were allowed to discriminate back then. A lot of those schools, even after that, even
Well,
after it
private
was made
schools
a
usually have a tuition,
right.
bro.
I know, I understand that. Private schools usually have a
And
tuition.
also, like,
Hold on, let me
you're
finish.
talking about
Let me
zoning.
finish. Let me finish. Private
Okay.
schools usually have a tuition, so the black kids could not afford it at that time. That's what happened. That's what kept schools segregated. They also would completely move schools to another zone, so those kids wouldn't be able to go there anymore. That's what kept schools segregated. If you actually look this up, schools are more segregated now than they were back then. It's not by law; it's by de facto. I think someone put you on mute. You can unmute now. Hold on, give me a second. Cause I think you were put on mute by somebody. All right, hold on, y'all. TikTok is doing that weird thing where it thinks that I'm not on live and I actually am. Jarvis, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. So yeah, so that's essentially the issue. Schools are segregated de facto now, not by law, just de facto.
So what I'm saying is that like schools just don't get up and move. Yes, they're for that district. So like where you're living, that's what school you're gonna go to if you're in their district. And they don't ever say, "Oh, you can't come here." You know what I'm saying? And then like if you're talking about like black people not having opportunities and stuff, like black people have their own scholarships, they have their own colleges, like everything is there for them to succeed. Is what I'm saying. You just have to do it.
Okay. So when we talk about district, how do you think those districts were created?
Just where you live.
How do you think that
Like
happened?
there's a school district.
Hold on,
like
Jarvis,
in every.
Jarvis, listen to what I'm saying. How do you think those districts were created? How did they happen?
I have no clue.
They were created through segregation,
I'm
my
not
friend.
like a city builder or something.
Right. It happened through urban planning and it was created through segregation. So that's how schools are de facto segregated, because these schools were placed into different areas. I mean, these neighborhoods were made mostly white and mostly black on purpose. That's what happened. When we talk
So
about like
are-
when we talk about like black people having their own colleges, white people can go to an HBCU. The reason why HBCUs exist is because black people were not allowed to go to places like Harvard or any other standard school because again, they were barred from those schools. Like it was a long
No.
time before black people could even go to Harvard.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago, right?
Not really. Even in the '60s, black people were being not being
60s.
yeah. Even back then, people were not allowed to
Bro.
not really allowed, but they weren't accepted into Harvard.
Okay, yeah, that was the 60s, bro.
Right.
This is today.
That was the '60s. This is today, and what I'm saying is that still has lasting effects.
Man, you still have the most opportunities, is what I'm saying.
Do you think that just because the United Negro College Funds exist, therefore we have all opportunities to go somewhere?
I think if you work hard and you do things, you can.
Yeah, that's
I
not
mean,
that's
there's
that's not the type of society we live in.
that is.
No, it's not. Your skin color still affects your skin color, your gender, your sexual orientation. All that affects your opportunities.
So what about equal opportunity employment? Are you saying that no black?
You cut off there for a second, Jarvis. What were you asking me? Hey Willie, I'm gonna go ahead and invite you on. I'm gonna do that right after I finish speaking to Jarvis. I'm gonna invite him to unmute. I may start using my phone to do lives again, y'all, because TikTok Live is so screwy. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm gonna start using my phone again. But yeah, Jarvis, you kind of cut out there. What were you saying?
I said, what about equal opportunity employment then?
Yeah, equal
Then
opportunity
they
employment
don't
is.
have.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm like, they have no race, no gender, no sexual orientation, nothing. They hire you, and if you do a good job, then yeah, you're hired. But yeah, if you mess it up, then you're obviously not going to get the job.
Yeah. So when it comes to equal opportunity employment, that is the law of the land, right? And it is a excuse me, it is a good law. No one said that law didn't have positive effects, because it did. What I'm saying is that even though that law exists, that doesn't mean that there are people who still violate it. For example, a recent study was made on the names on the application, and if you have a black sounding name like Demetrius or Tamika or Leroy or Diquavius or something like that, those type of names are less likely to get callbacks than a white sounding name like Tyler or Stacy or Susan. You see what I mean? So in that way, that's how we know there's still discrimination in the job market. But even after that, there were other tests that were made on when the names sounded kind of the same, where they were white or black sounding names. If the applicant was shown to be a black applicant, like the race of the applicant was black, they still get less callbacks, even if they have the same qualifications as a white applicant. So discrimination in the employment industry does still happen. And they even looked at after they get the job. They saw that black employees, when they did things wrong, their punishment was harsher than white employees, from final write-ups to termination. It happened more often to black employees than to white employees, even if they did the same incorrect actions. So before you get the job, there's discrimination, and even on the job, there's still discrimination. And black employees still get less promotions. They get paid differently, stuff like that. All these things still happen in the employment industry that we need to address and actually fix.
So I think that if a company actually did those things that you're saying, they could get sued.
They
But
can.
I think you're kind of just pushing the thing that we don't have no opportunities. That's what I'm saying. You're trying to say that you don't have no equal opportunities here. And
I'm
you
not
do.
saying that we don't have opportunities. Of course we have opportunities. What I'm saying is that
It's equal,
opportunities,
though.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I disagree with. Opportunities are not equal, because there are still
They are.
barriers. There are still barriers to your opportunity depending on your your socioeconomic status, your skin color, your gender. All that affects your opportunities in this country.
And I don't buy that at all, buddy. I'm
So,
sorry.
all right. So, how do you explain what I just told you about the research that was conducted into this? How do you explain all that?
Well, what I'm saying is that research is probably from some fake news or something. And
You're
then
saying
you
that
do
they're
have
lying.
equal opportunities, bud.
Hold on.
You have
Hold
exactly
on,
the
wait,
same
hold on, stop.
opportunities
Hold on,
as a
wait.
white person.
Listen, bro. Listen, stop going a mile a minute. You're really saying that when they researched this in 1983, and then researched it again in 2016, and then researched it again in 2023, for the past 30 years, they've just been lying? Really?
What I'm saying is that if you do a good job at the work, the employer doesn't care what color you are. They'll hire you.
Again,
They'll try you out.
again,
If
again,
you
again.
suck, they'll fire you.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask you this again. When they did the research on employment discrimination, not only on names but the race of the applicant, they did it in 1983, they did it again in the 2000s, and they did it again just last year recently. For the past 30 years, they found the same exact result. You're saying that this has been lying for the past 30 years?
What I'm saying is, what about the qualifications?
I'm just asking you
It's
yes
not,
or no.
It's not just about race.
I'm just
it's
asking you
about
yes
what you
or
can
no.
do.
Yes or no. Do you think that
I
back in
kinda don't buy it.
1983 they were lying? And then when they did it again in 2000, they were lying. And then again
Maybe
last
83.
year, they were lying. Really?
What I'm saying is maybe in 83, but what I'm saying is that you have an equal opportunity no matter what you do.
All
If
right.
you work hard,
You mentioned qualifications. There was
Mhm.
also research to show that when a white applicant and a black applicant have the same exact qualification, the black applicant still gets less callbacks, and even if they both get hired, the black applicant will probably get paid less. That was shown in the research as well. And that was shown again back in the 80s, in the 2000s, and today. They keep doing this research and they keep finding the same result. Do you really think all this time, and it's not just one study or two studies, these are multiple studies that are finding the same exact thing. Are you really saying they're all lying?
Can I get where you're getting that information, please?
Yeah, sure.
Where are you getting that information?
All right, before I bring that up, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you really not look any of this up?
No, I don't look it up because I know how things
Why?
are. Like,
Okay, here's the thing. You can say that you know how things are, but you realize that anecdotes aren't data, right?
that what?
Anecdotes aren't data. Just because is something that you've never seen before doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
But I know that every person has an equal opportunity in this country.
They don't.
So
Just
Mexicans
because,
don't
hold
have
on,
the
just
same
because
opportunity.
around your area and from what you've seen, opportunities are equal, does not make that reality, bro. That's what I'm saying, Jarvis.
Well, what I'm saying is that, like, you know, I have, I have a lot of black friends too, and they have the same opportunity as I do. They work hard, they succeed. They don't work hard, they don't succeed. That's just how it is.
Again, anecdotes are not data, bro. Do you understand that anecdotes aren't data?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then give me. where
So
you're getting your information from.
just because this doesn't happen around you doesn't mean it's never doesn't happen. It's not what that means, man.
Okay. So like in New York or something, I guess, or California.
Say that again.
Like I'm in middle America, bro. I'm in Colorado.
I understand you're in Colorado.
And there's a ton of people here and they get the same opportunity as everyone.
Great.
But I would like to know where you're getting your information from.
I'm getting it from
Because I kind of
research.
think that's crazy.
Yeah,
Well,
it
yeah,
is
but
crazy.
what website? What website? What, like, what's the name of your research? Like, who made that up?
No one made it up. It's research.
Okay. Then tell me, what is your
Give me a second while I pull it
what
up.
is your website?
Give me a second while I pull it up, please. Because I have a list of sources. Let me ask you, why is this hard for you to believe?
Just because I know, like, I've gone to school with everyone. Like, I'm 48, bro. Even back in the 90s when I went to school, everybody had an opportunity. Nobody disrespected anybody. Even black kids, white kids, Mexicans, Chinese kids, they have the same exact opportunity. If they work hard, they can get what they want.
Yeah, I get that you see the world through these like rosy glasses, but that's really not how the world actually works, man.
Okay, then who's responsible for crapping on everyone, I guess?
Companies.
Companies?
Mhm.
So can't those companies get sued if they don't give the opportunity to people?
No, not really. Because who's gonna
Not really?
who's gonna know? If they just throw my application away when they see my black person, how's anyone gonna know?
Because there's like a standard, right? You have to hire so many white people, you have to hire so many black people,
That
you have to
doesn't
hire so
exist.
many Mexicans.
That doesn't exist.
That's the equal opportunity employment thing.
No, it's not. Quotas
That's not?
quotas are illegal. They can't do that anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know? Quotas have been illegal since the 70s. They don't do that anymore.
Where'd you get that info from? Equal opportunity
cases?
employment.
Yeah, there was a
Equal
court
opportunity
case
employment.
on like quotas in colleges, and the federal government made quotas illegal. That happened back in the 60s. Actually, no, I'm wrong. That happened in the 70s.
Okay, yeah, but the equal opportunity thing came after that, right? We're not talking
No.
about the 60s and 70s. We're
Yeah,
talking
even
about
even if it
today.
came after that, quotas are not part of the Equal Opportunity Act. That's not legal.
It is actually. It's illegal
No,
to
it's
just
not.
have a whole. It's illegal to have a whole company of white people, right? It's illegal
No,
to
it's
have a
not illegal to have a whole company of white people. It's illegal
It
to
is.
No, it's not. It's not illegal to have a whole company of white people. We can have a whole company of white people. You telling me
Equal
that
opportunity.
a factory up in Podunk, Idaho somewhere is gonna try to move someone that's not white into their 100-person factory when there's no one around who's white? Come on, bro. That's
They
not gonna happen.
apply. If
That's not
they
gonna happen.
apply.
No, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
If
It's
they
not
apply.
it's not illegal to have a company of all white people. It's illegal to purposely have a company of all white people.
Okay, so if a black person applies to a whole white company, then that's illegal to freaking reject them, bro. Because the equal opportunity employment.
No, it's not. It's not illegal to reject them if they don't have the qualifications. But if they do have the qualifications and they still get rejected, then they're gonna take a look at why. But it's not illegal to have an all white company. But it's illegal to do that on purpose. But if you just live if your company's just in an area where there's no other people around, if
So
you go
you
to
said
a
it's illegal
if
to
you
do
go
it
to
on
a
purpose.
restaurant right now in East Side Detroit, it's probably gonna be all black people who work in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not illegal
And that's fine, right?
have
That's fine. That's
right.
totally
And
okay
if you go to a restaurant somewhere in the middle of Idaho, it's probably gonna be only white people in there.
because
That's
nobody
exactly who they
applied.
live. Yeah, exactly. Because someone who's like, I'm not gonna apply to work in a diner in Idaho, bro. Why would I do that? My
Well, if
point
you're
is,
in
it's
the
not
area
illegal.
and
My
you need
point
a
is not.
job,
My point is, it's not illegal to have a company that's all. Okay, I gotta mute this. My point is, it's not illegal to have a company that's all white. It's only illegal if you do that if it's on purpose. All right, give me a second, y'all. Because he asked me to show something, and I'm gonna have to show it. All right, give me a moment because it took me a while to bring up that source. I have to go through my source document. All right, so here's a study that was done back in 2004. Like I said, are Emily and Greg more employable than Lakeisha and Jamal? A fear experiment on labor market discrimination. This was done in July of 2003. Yeah, that was 20 years ago, and I think they did another update on the study, and they found the exact same results as well. So again, name discrimination does happen because Lakeisha and Jamal are black-sounding names. You understand that, right?
yeah, I mean, I see that what you're saying, but is that actual facts or is that just another fake news thing, dude?
All right. I appreciate you being up here, Jarvis. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on, guys. We at 16,000 likes. I do appreciate y'all. It's 10 o'clock now. I'm gonna go ahead and start bringing up my friendlies. I do have K in the chat. I might bring up one more opposition, and then I'm gonna go ahead and close out for tonight. K, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your patience.
Hey, Pookie.
How's it going? How's it going? TikTok Live.
You're echoing.
I'm echoing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how to change it. Give me a second.
Yeah, he was arrogant because how is research fake news? So arrogant. Like that's. How much you want to bet he watched Fox?
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know anymore. Hold on, guys. My
So he said, "What's the research?" You bring up the research, and now it's fake news.
Yeah.
Asking, sir, have you? I'm like, how is research fake news?
that's what I'm saying, yo.
That is funny. Listen, I've been in the waiting room for a while. No slam on the host. That's not where I'm going. But I just to start off, I'm 63 years old. I'll be 64 in August. Um,
Oh, your name's Philly Chuck. Hey, neighbor.
hey, what's going on, sis? So yeah, so the last caller, Jarvis. Um, for anyone listening, first of all, I would just to in his defense, I don't think Jarvis is a racist, and the reason why I say that is people in this country are under the belief that all men are created equal, blah 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 blah, that whole thing, and they fail to see that there are differences in the races and how they came about. So, for example, earlier we were talking, you guys were talking about schools and good schools, good public schools. We did make the distinction between public and private. Um, so what's happening here, and I would imagine around the country, is you cannot attend a public school unless you are a part of that community or live in that area. So I live
But we
in
all know that.
right.
But what Volsi was saying is how those districts came about and how and how they were mapped was due to
Right, right.
systemic racism and segregation.
Correct. So, for example, my daughter goes to a school outside of where we live, but it's a private school, and the tuition for that at kindergarten is, I think, it's 23,000, and she's in the ninth grade, but it ends up at about $44,000 per year. But this is a great school, so as long as my wife and I are paying, she can go there. But outside of there is Lower Marion Township, where in fact, people know this name. Kobe Bryant went to high school. So if we wanted to send her to Lower Marion High School, she could not go because we do not belong in the Lower Marion Township. So this is a way of excluding people from schools. So, for example, black people from this school. So people within or outside of Lower Marion, meaning in the Philadelphia city limits, that wanted to go to public school have no chance whatsoever to go to Lower Marion High School. So that is a
I've
form.
heard of it.
Say it
Exactly.
again. Yeah, so that is a way of saying we don't
Isn't
want
that a
to.
predominantly white tea school, if I'm
Say it
not
again.
mistaken?
Say it
Isn't
again.
that predominantly white tea school, if I'm not mistaken?
Was that Lower Marion?
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% it is. 100%. But that is a high rent district. And I mean high rent.
I'm like, yeah, so that's where things like redlining come into play.
Right.
See?
So, right, it's a high rent district. So anyone within the Philadelphia city limits, which is the mean income there compared to Lower Marion, is like apples and oranges. You know what I mean? So no one there could even go to that school. So the only way my wife and I could, I guess, address our daughter's intelligence is to pay this 40 grand a year to this Baldwin School for Girls. And if anyone, just look that up when you get a time. It's number one in Pennsylvania, and I think 56 in the entire country. All of these girls are like on another level. When I say another level, I mean another level.
Yeah, I heard it. My cousin, I think, was supposed to go there.
Right. But fortunately, my daughter was at that level, and I'm retired now. I'm a systems engineer. So my wife and I did well for ourselves in order to send her there. So which is fine. But my concern is for the ones that aren't as well off as I am or doing as well as I am. And this systemic racism, it creeps in there, and people don't see it and they don't know it. And I know we mentioned earlier about resumes. What my wife told her niece was her name is Dewana, and I'm not even gonna get into the spelling of her name. Please don't let me get into that. So what we told her was use your first initial and last name in order for you to get more looks in terms of your resume. Because obviously if she put Dewana Jackson, that's going in the trash can. 90% of the time.
That's heavily Black American.
That's going in the trash.
The first name and the last name.
That's right. Jackson, we might be able to eke through, but that first name, nah.
No.
You're not gonna get past
unless
that.
unless you don't know Black folks like that, because I think of like black folk name like Jackson,
and
Friedman,
Right,
Williams,
right, right,
Smith, Jefferson. Like these are like very
right.
common
Mhm.
black
And
nicknames.
in regards to, and then I got some. I'm not going to tie this up. I'm just going to touch on a few things. But another person you had on there was talking about the black spending power. So I think we're up to about 1.33 or 34 trillion dollars a year. I don't know the exact number. 1.3 trillion. Let's put it there. So he said we spend, as far as culturally, we have the biggest spending power. And I just kind of wanted to touch on that a little. We spend more frivolously than any other culture. I don't know if we spend the most. We definitely spend more frivolously. We got that. We got to put rims on our cars. That came with rims, by the way. I just want to put that out there. If anybody didn't know, else your car wouldn't be able to run. Um, these kind of we spend more frivolously. Our money does not stay in our community, more than a very short period of time. It comes in,
Like 5
it
seconds
goes out.
in data, but don't quote me.
Say it again.
Like I think every 5 seconds, the dollar leaves
Right,
a dollar leaves the black community, but I don't.
right.
I, it's been a while since I've looked at it, so I'm not sure. I
Okay, so
couldn't
if you
answer.
notice in our community, like say here in Philly, we have a strong, let's say Korean community, right? So, and if anybody notices, their money rotates amongst themselves. That's how it circulates amongst
Oh
themselves.
yeah, that's very
And
true.
amongst themselves only. They don't send it out. There's no need to go out. So, and in terms of
I'm
the
like, and they tend to have, but they also have businesses, like not just the Koreans, but like a lot. I'm like, actually, I could even add like a lot. I'm like outside of Philly and in Philly, like I've seen like many different groups. Like I'm like the Chinese.
right,
I've seen like even like black immigrants from different countries like come and they establish business. I see a lot of Caribbean restaurants
well, one of the things,
around.
like say these people from other countries get when they come there to open a business, they either will get a low interest or no interest loan. So you got to figure if you're in a black community and you get older and you say, listen, I want to own a cheesesteak and hoagie shop. For anybody that doesn't know, that's a sandwich, a Philadelphia thing. But anyway, um,
And
it
it's
would
very
be
good.
it would be nearly impossible for someone in the black community to own that business. But someone that just got here, just got off the plane, the boat, whatever, however they got here, can do that with a low interest or no interest loan from the government. We cannot do that. We have
Well,
to,
I'm like, well, a lot of our issues, I'm like, I think like the difference is that like again, um, I'm like a lot of the issues that like we were talking about redlining,
right,
um,
right,
all of
right,
these different things. Like for those of us who are foundationally Black
right,
American,
right. So the redlining,
we,
if
we
you
have we have different. I'm like, there's different experiences there because our families have been here really since the slave days.
right,
So there's different experiences there because if your family has been through Jim Crow, has been
hmm
through the Black Codes, has been through redlining, etc. Like we said, those are the reasons why, like for example, your daughter could not go to the school that you were just talking about.
right,
If you were not sending her to private school, it's not that like on paper like oh black girls or black boys can't go
hmm
to schools in this area. It's the fact that like you mentioned high interest rate. Those interest rates um, also fund the schools in the
correct,
area,
correct,
right? And I'm like, and it is also known that like predominantly like black areas, like projects and hoods, that by the way exist because of redlining and
right,
racism
correct.
and all of those things. Um, like don't I'm like they have lower. I think they have the interest rates are different, and I'm like and that I'm like and because of that, like predominantly black schools don't get the same funding as predominantly white
That's correct,
public
correct,
schools.
correct. And another subject that was brought up was in terms of reparations. I personally feel black people. I'm against receiving reparations only in the form of money. And the reason why I say
Yeah,
that,
I'm like we've talked about that
right,
actually on this
right.
on this live.
Okay, okay.
One of the things we actually talked about for reparations would be also rectifying like like those things that we were just talking about, like the fact that like putting more funding into predominantly black schools. Also, like what did you talk about, Bosi? Putting trades into schools for black
School
children
systems. Hmm.
to
Was
be
that
able to receive
putting training? You said.
before
That's
leaving
right.
high school.
Okay.
I'm like I also added like financial literacy onto that, because here's the thing: if we were to get reparations, right, is one thing, right, financially and all these things, but
Hmm.
it's also about maintaining
Right,
um,
right.
those
And we
things.
don't, and
So
we
I
don't
think
get
like
that.
having children have like financial literacy courses and having those available for
Mhm.
Black children would be. I'm like, and even for our Black elders, if needed, would be crucial to
Right, right, right.
I'm like for to having these reparations not only stay within the Black community,
Mhm.
but also building the Black community from up.
Well, reparations stretch far beyond money for us. So much
Exactly.
has
Yes,
occurred,
that's what I was saying.
right?
Like
So much has occurred
funding like
since
black,
slavery.
predominantly black schools, fix them like charging fixing these interest rates, etc.
Mhm.
Bosa, do you actually want to go into some of the things we've talked about
Well,
on
let,
other lives too
let me
regarding
say one thing.
reparations?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so much has happened to us to the point where, and I don't know if any studies have been done, is that it's in our DNA.
I'm like you're talking
Yeah,
about
epigenetics.
epigenetics.
Hmm.
Right. It's passed on. So obviously, how the mother
You're talking.
feels.
Are you? I'm like so. Just for
Right.
clarification, are you talking about the trauma
I'm
specifically
I'm
of the
talking. Well, not
ancestors?
listen to this. Not just trauma, but a way of how we conduct ourselves around others. I
Yeah,
also believe that is in our DNA.
yeah.
Well,
Right.
yeah,
So
that
It
no
can
also
be.
child.
but that would also fall into like the trauma, because people with like certain traumas they may like react certain way around groups of people.
Well,
So that would also kind of fall into like that's because
exactly.
that's what you're talking about. You're talking
Right.
about
No child is
epigenetics.
born thinking he or she has to lower their eyes or put on their safe black voice around people. No, you follow me? That
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
not,
it's
to me, that is
conditioning.
not taught. That is not taught, in my opinion. In some
No,
cases,
it's
it is.
conditioning because we
It
have
is.
to
Mm.
survive.
Right. Right. So, in terms of, and the other thing I wanted to raise is with someone had mentioned, it's almost like they're saying slavery's over and they don't have a clue about the effects of slavery. So when you say slavery is over, first of all, the industrial revolution would not have occurred 100% without slavery. It could not have occurred. Our industrial revolution could not have occurred without slavery. The industrial revolution is the very core of it is based on slavery.
Hmm.
Number one. So the United States, and what happens is people continue to benefit from it with and thinking to themselves, we built this and we earned this and we made this happen for us. No, 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 no. Nothing is further from the truth. No, you did not at all. And not to single out any group, but the Jewish and Ish is there. They call it Jewish. That is in that name for a reason. If anybody, you guys can look up what the suffix ish means, and you will understand what I'm saying. So they made billions and continue to make money based on that. And what angers me or what upsets me is nobody will admit that we did so on the backs of these people and never paid them for it.
Well, yeah, and I also have brought up in the past, like on other lives. I feel like I've said this. I'm like, and I'm like, and all the empathy to all those who were obviously affected by the Holocaust. So this is not anything towards that, but I just feel like the idea, like the fact that the Holocaust and has gotten like has so much empathy, but y'all are arguing on this slide about the effects of slavery, and even denying the facts that they exist. Is absolutely rooted in anti-blackness.
30
And furthermore,
million.
I truly believe that like the reason that that the Holocaust gets gets the treatment that it does like
Mm-hmm.
and it's not because it was wrong, and it was and horrific, but because it was one of the times it was a war of Europeans against other Europeans.
But who you got to look
That's
at
why.
who's writing the story. If
Mm-hmm.
you are the author of your story, you get to say whatever you want, right? So the Jewish Holocaust, 30 million people died or were killed during that process. 100 million Africans died or were killed just during the journey
Mm-hmm.
before we even set foot on the North America. 100 million of us died on the way here. So
Because people don't even talk about if you look at in Africa some of the dungeons that the slaves were kept in, and then even like you see some of the pictures of the ships. They were living. They had these people in like horrific conditions.
I
Horrific.
and
Yeah, complete squalor.
I will always say we are the strongest people on this planet because of that, right? So, and here's a fact: the path that sharks use to feed was changed because of the direction the slave ships took to come here. Because some of us jumped off, right? Killed ourselves because ain't no way in hell I'm gonna put up with this nonsense. A lot of us were killed, and a lot of us died due to health reasons, and because we were packed in like sardines, and died that manner. So all they would do was throw the bodies overboard.
Yeah.
Till this
The
very day,
horrific, like the horrific living conditions that
right?
these
To
people
this
were
very
kept in.
day, the path that sharks feed is based on the path that the ships took from Africa to Virginia.
Let me just come in here real.
Could I?
Yeah. I'm gonna let you say something, Shank. Everybody remember to use TikTok friendly language. All right. Shank, you wanted to go
I'm
ahead and
sorry.
say something? No, all good. Shank, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much for letting me up here, man. It's been an hour. Dude, host Boise, I don't know how you do this, man. I don't know how you do this, bro. This is insane. I would go crazy in the head. So listen, all you YT people listening out there, all of you guys are worried about reparations. It ain't black folk waiting by the mailbox for a check. We have it here in California, a very proud Californian right here, and it is a very long, drawn-out process. It's a committee that's set up, and they do a massive amount of research, genealogy. It's a long process. People don't know when they're getting checks. They'll get a letter and a check one day because it's a very long and drawn-out process where you have to study a person's lineage, their history, where are their sons and daughters and
Their family.
future
Fund.
generations are and now, and then finding those people. It's not as if every single black folk is going to all of a sudden get a check, dudes. You guys are all paranoid, and this is all based out of fear. The second thing I want to say, just wanted to say this real quick. I'm just to give you my background. I'm Indian, India, and before we were talking about how colonialism, what happened with how they did that. I mean, my relatives, my family is spread out all over the world: Cameroon, Jamaica, Africa, because that's what they did. That's how they controlled continents. But I'm Indian. I'm a dark-skinned Indian, and I grew up pretty much white tea. And I heard all the black jokes and this and that, but you know, I heard I wasn't black.
I'm like, how did you grow up white tea if you phenotypically look Indian? That's only.
So
thing.
I'm Indian, so I have straight hair, and my name, how I speak, how my it's just I got
But
away with
like,
it. Now
are you
look,
talking about
Gotcha.
culturally or racially?
racially, no, I'm dark skinned but I'm Indian. I don't have an afro. I have
Let me ask you
I'm
this.
like, I mean,
Hold on,
yeah,
hold on,
but
hold
like,
on, hold on,
just
hold on.
because you don't racially
Hold on,
present as
hold on.
black, obviously, does not necessarily mean you
ma'am.
wouldn't have as a person of color.
When I was 30 years old, I started losing my hair like my man here. So I shaved off my head. I shaved my head, and that was the year I learned.
Talk about the host.
That was the year I learned that everything black folk were saying was absolutely 100% fucking correct, and it was a hard fucking goddamn lesson. And you know when it hits you, it doesn't hit you right away. You need to think about that shit. You need to go back and think about that shit. Wait a minute, was that shit fucking
Let me
racist or
ask you a
what?
question. How
I
old
mean,
are you? How old are you?
48.
Okay, 48. Now, in the industry that I worked in, engineering, I've noticed, and I've never made a big stink out of it. People, Indians, and I noticed this, treat black people the same way white people did
Yeah.
like some decades
Oh
ago.
yeah,
Are
there's
you
a
So let me
lot
tell
of
you.
familiar?
people
Are
Let
you
me
have
tell you
black.
why. Let me tell you.
are you familiar with that?
Yeah, it's a caste system in India. Okay, so in the caste system, you're born where you're born is where you're going to be set for life. Okay, so there's a very high class, the Brahmins. So anybody with a Patel with last name, the Gujaratis, they're Brahmins. Okay, they're the highest class in India. Here, it don't mean shit. It don't mean shit. So I will talk smack on any fucking Indian that raises a fucking eyebrow. I mean, fuck him. Fuck them. I don't stand for that shit.
I've had like many racist experiences.
Hey,
I've had many like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, but when you look at the history of India, I'm like Philly, like you would be like they are. I'm like, and not just India, but like all of Asia, they have a massive colorism issue.
Well,
But
yeah,
They do.
Sean,
They do.
I
Listen,
am.
listen.
Even towards
Not all
other
Indian people are
Asians.
like that. Not all Indian people are like that. And let me tell you, my family is because we were so spread out and stuff. So I have cousins. That married all kinds of fucking people, dude. And my cousin in Botswana, she wanted to marry an African guy, and my family got pissed at that. They got pissed about that.
I'm like, but
But
now
you
to
know
be
what?
fair, I have
Guess-
literally heard of of Indian families literally wanting to unalive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their family
Dude,
members
you know
who
what,
wanted
though?
to
It's
marry a
amazing.
black person.
Even though
Can
I've
everybody pause
done,
real quick?
you know,
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Can y'all pause real quick? Hey, Dunked in history, you said that you're a history major in U.S. history, and you
Yes,
wanted to add something. What's going on?
what's up? Hey, Sackpot Savo. See, we talked before a couple of times. I wanted to say how you doing, man.
How's it going? How's it
Um,
going?
doing good, man. No, with that, no, my name is Ryan. I'm a U.S. history major. I specialize in Reconstruction and U.S. Civil War. And also with that, I just want to say that like I'm a huge fan of having these discussions when it comes to the historical repercussions of where we're at today. And yeah, with that, like we can see that what he was what Sean was saying got me really interested because he was mentioning the caste system. I was going to ask him about the Untouchables.
Yeah, that's the lowest caste. That's the lowest caste. Now, if I was born in India, which I wasn't, that would be me. That
Oh,
would be
wow.
me. So living here, all that shit goes out the window, and it's so funny because I actually I have two nonprofits. I've been on the news a bunch of times. I have a documentary out on me. So I have all this stuff out there, right? And then to hear the opposition, because in India right now, the same thing that's happening here is happening in India. So there's a nationalist a movement happening over there. The Hindus
Are you talking
are
about the Hindu National Party?
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
BJP, yes. They're current and
Modi Party.
correct. If you're not Hindu, there and the same thing was happening in Congo as well. Well, not too much like Congo, but it's sort of it's a nationalist movement where if you're Sikh, even if you're Sikh, so that's still Indian, that's still Hinduism, but
Wow.
it's not Hindu, it's Sikh. You're gone.
Punjabi. Yeah.
In fact, so much so that 2 years ago, the second largest immigrant coming from our southern border was Indian nationals who were fleeing India because of this persecution that was happening over there. Yeah, that happens over there all the time.
A little background to that is that because they literally had a religious separation where you had Muslims literally relocate to their own country, aka Pakistan.
Yeah, that happened after in 50, I think, in the 50s. That was horrible. That was all part of India.
That was
But-
after Gandhi was unalived. Yeah.
Correct. They felt that was the best way to stop the riots because the British just left and they left a vacuum there, and the power.
Hold on, y'all. I want to address this comment because I wasn't able to address it before and didn't make it in the comment. The Irish were not slaves; they were indentured servants. I need y'all to stop saying that stupid shit.
Wait, what
And
happened?
it's white
Sorry, you were
supremacists.
talking away from your microphone. Nobody heard you. I'm sorry. Can you say that?
Oh
one
no,
more time?
I was responding to because I saw this earlier and I couldn't correct it because I was up here. But also, it's the comments being mentioned again. Dance Dad, 2024. The Irish were never slaves. They were indentured
Yeah,
servants.
that was another joke. I was flipping my lid when I was hearing that about the Irish. I'm like, come on, dude.
So, as somebody who studies history, I'll tell you right now, like you can't compare like 1800s and 1700s chattel slavery to anything remotely to like
Right.
biblical or ancient slavery. It's not even close. Like
Yeah,
literally,
like I'm like,
if you go
it's
to Haiti,
annoying.
they didn't have a naturally sustaining population. The average lifespan of a Haitian slave was 23 years old,
Yeah.
and that was it. Like you were done, and like they couldn't have a naturally sustaining population. There was very few that
One of the
actually.
things we have to do is know one another. Now, I don't know everyone here, but I'm going to give you what black people's history as white people know it. Are y'all ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Black people were brought to the United States as slaves. Lincoln freed the slaves. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I don't know anybody white here. I don't know your knowledge, but I'm gonna give it to you right now. Black people
I've
brought
been
as
described
slaves.
as painfully white.
Lincoln freed the slaves. Dr. King made a speech. Barack Obama was the first black president. That is your knowledge. I'm telling
That's
you
all
now.
they
I
know.
don't
You
know
say,
any of you.
no, well,
You know
like,
that
literally,
guy.
That is your total knowledge
Meanwhile,
of black people.
meanwhile, the
literally,
reason that Lincoln,
Philly,
the
Philly,
reason that
literally in
Lincoln
high
freed the
school.
slaves was not because he
I'm
had
not.
this goodness in his heart,
No,
but
no.
because
No, I'm
He's
not
trying to
talking
keep
about
the
the
union
reason.
together.
I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the reason. I'm talking about what they were
That's
taught.
that's what
Yeah,
they're
that's
taught.
what they were
I'm
taught.
yeah,
strictly what they were
but
taught.
that's
I
basically
just gave you your history of black people in a nutshell. Every
You know
every
that
white
last guy that
person
was
in here,
that
I
was
just
up here,
gave it
that
to you.
nice guy. That nice guy. If he just Googles up workplace discrimination lawsuits, he will get the multitude of lists just on 2024 alone. I mean,
So,
the lawsuits are numerous. How can this guy like, oh, can't they get sued? Can't they get sued for that? No, goddamn, yeah, they can. They do get sued, man.
They
I
do.
mean,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
There will
hey,
be
I
no
Philly.
know.
traffic light.
but just
There will
because,
be
and
no
this is the thing.
lawnmower. There will be no trolley car. There will be no what did Ford do with the what they call it the production
Model
line, the
T.
master? There will be none of that. I gave every white person in here. I gave you your history of black people, and you can't tell me I'm wrong.
Hey, did you know that? Did you know that black people paid? Hey, did you know that?
Dance Dad, I'm like, I just want to make that clarification. Don't come in if you're ever in this live. Do not compare chattel slavery to indentured servitude.
No.
Ever again, even in colonial law, they were separated on the books.
And YT people, you need to know this. You need to know this too, YT people. So, Nazis in Germany, Hitler studied how white people in America treated the black folk, native folk, and learned from that and utilized that shit against the Jews in Germany. That's how you bring
well,
people.
yeah, I'm like, because people don't. It's so funny. Like when they talk about the Holocaust, they don't also remember that during the time that the Holocaust happened. I'm like specifically Philly and my lineage. Us, we're foundational Black Americans. I'm like, we were in Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Around that same
Really
period.
quick though, like, who do you
Yeah.
think paid for the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah. And
Be
does
right back,
anybody
guys.
know who, when the Jewish during the Holocaust, when they were transferred from the
Nobody.
trains to the concentration camps, who supplied those vehicles? Ford.
But who
Y'all
paid
hear
for
me?
the Eiffel
Ford.
Tower? Anybody? Nobody even answered the question.
USA Ford. Those are the
Yeah,
vehicles.
Ford was funding the Nazis. Yeah, the Hitler. Yeah,
But
and so was
does
Kennedy.
anybody?
What was the question?
I was adding on to the point that they were using tools that they learned through how America specifically oppressed Black and Native the Black
Exactly.
and Native community.
Is
Yeah.
anybody
Because we were under Jim Crow laws at this time.
Is
So
anybody
we're
here
talking about
50
the
or
time where
over?
Black people's social, political, and economics were we were
Correct.
Alright,
and
guys.
living conditions were completely
Everybody
disenfranchised.
pause.
I
real
just want
quick.
to say one thing. I just want to say one thing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So look, YT people are scared of reparations. They're scared of this, and rightfully so. YT. I mean, your numbers are dwindling. Your numbers are going down. That's because of the species. You're the weakest, but that's
Well,
okay. You
I'll
think
tell you,
if you think we're gonna treat you guys with the dignity and honor like we treat everybody else, we are. We're going to.
Well,
So
here's
don't
a fact.
fear.
In 23 out of 50 states, they are dying faster than they're making babies.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
And they
That's a
are
fact.
scared about that.
That's a fact.
That's
That's
Which is
where a
and
lot
why
of
that's why
they're
this
trying
actually
to
comes
bring
from.
in them white.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
AV.
Pause.
Also, I'm like,
Everybody pause. Everybody pause. Yeah, that's where a lot of all this comes from. But the only reason I had to pause everybody is because I do go ahead and got to get off now. I got to go ahead and,
Yeah,
and,
man.
and do some things. I do appreciate everybody being up here. What I'm going to do, I think next week I'm just gonna go ahead and run a panel instead of just bringing up everyone at the end. The panels are good as well. Kay, if you come next time for the panel, definitely come up. Issa, definitely come up as well. I'm gonna run a panel next time. Next week is my religion week. So it's not gonna be the politics week.
oh,
I'll
I
do politics
cannot
right
wait
after.
for that, honey.
Is there any way we can be
What
notified
do you
of
mean
this?
religion? What do you mean religion?
Oh yeah, just follow me and then
I'm like,
Okay.
so Philly, follow Vosi, and then anytime Vosi goes live, you should get a notification.
Okay, outstanding. I'm
yeah,
not
this
like
what I'm running next week. This one is gonna be good next week. that's gonna be next
There's
week,
no
y'all.
good evidence for a God. Oh shit. Oh,
Yeah,
Also,
that's
like,
gonna
also,
be a good
if
one.
you're a black atheist, we have a Discord for black atheists. You have to have at least 1 or 2 black parents in order to enter.
question about this atheist thing. I am not a religion. I'm totally against religion, but I'm not against a creator per se. So where would I
Gotcha.
fall?
Hey, good night, Volsey. Good night, everybody.
Not a problem. You will probably fall in agnostic, but yeah,
Yeah, it
we're gonna
sounds
go.
like agnostic.
Yeah, but we're gonna go ahead
Okay.
and,
I'm like,
run
I'm
this
like, but
tomorrow.
we have agnostics. Don't we have agnostics in
We
the
do.
black atheists?
We do.
Like, so it's for atheists and agnostics. So if you wanted to join, you could. If you have Discord, you could.
Can we stay on if you leave or close this? That's not
No,
possible.
no, no.
No, that's not possible. Cause
Okay,
No,
all right.
but-
Then
but
I'll,
if you-
I'll follow you and then look for you in the future.
yeah,
and I'm
definitely.
gonna follow you, Philly, Chuck as well.
I appreciate y'all. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I appreciate everybody
I'm like,
here.
give wifey all my love, though.
I will. That's what I'm about to go do
Have
now.
a good weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend now. All right. John, come back next week. We'll definitely do that next week. All right. I appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate everyone here on my YouTube.